This is Sky Fire News, the best UFO show on the internet. Sky Fire News is on the internet. Sky Fire News. Fire News. Fire News. Yes, sir. Sky Fire News, the best UFO show on the internet. Sky Fire News is on the internet. Sky Fire News.
He's doing his best. He's knocking on the right doors. He's getting the guests and saying all the right words. All the right words. Oh Lord, Matt Ford. In 2022, Matt was not around. Ufology. What did he do to get so far with the loop? Parasitology. Oh Lord, Matt Ford. You claim Green Street attacked Tim's family.
Oh my Lord.
Well, damn. So were you telling the truth?
Matt Ford's on this play? Okay.
We got the post.
Sorry about the wait, guys.
Show them. I did you show them that?
It wasn't playing any audio on my end. I had no idea if you guys could hear me or not. But yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Sorry for the delay. There was a, I don't know, some drama going on. There was a remote viewing space typically held by Astro over on UFO Twitter. And there was a money reward for whoever got the closest to what was in the envelope this time. So that got done, and I decided to throw down some money for the winner, right? You know, I just won a contest. Let's kind of support another contest. And then it was being had, and I was just in the background doing other stuff, and the contest happened, and the winner was announced. And then I went into his spaces afterwards, and everyone was like really upset at who won. Apparently there was a more accurate submission. Someone had submitted basically what exactly was in the envelope, and that person did not win. So let me tell you, that's been a wild ride. Didn't expect that to happen whatsoever. So yeah, welcome to the show. Jesus, guys, Jesus. We're gonna have Red Panda come in here because basically now it's a scandal. At least somewhat of a scandal. What is up to the chat? We got Psychotronic X in the mix. Glad you're here. Glad you're hyped for this as well. Definitely in the early gang. We got Dr. Jim Russell. Welcome, Dr. Jim. You guys went back and forth for a little while. Gabriel, good to see you, man. Member Gabriel. Love seeing our members pop in here early. What's up to our mods and our fucking friends of the show for real? We got Heather Birdie, Skyfire Fam. We got Arden Paranormal. Hell yes. And what is this? Bongstradamus. Those posts on UFO Reddit from Still Chill Trill about SAIC and Lockheed merger acquisition is fascinating. Good. All right, we might dive into that. That might be a thing. Welcome to the show, guys, dude. Hell yeah. Maybe we got some new people here today. Okay, so obviously we're gonna get into the Roswell stuff. Red Panda's floating in again. This scandal just unfolded. I put the most amount of money down in this contest, and now it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I'll show you guys something. What do we got? We got some music in here. We got the Mummy song. All right, that's cool. Did you guys see that game I was playing earlier? Did you guys see it? Check this out. So, I'm trying to keep my I've been practicing coding in order to build my timeline website, and I recently got like a Chat GPT to basically, or not Chat GPT, but like AI to help me code some experiments, and one of them was a video game. Check this out. Yeah, so this is the video game. I created in Midjourney a backdrop for like an arcade. It's going to be kind of small here, but essentially it's just a snake game where you play a UFO, and I just grabbed some sprites that I found. So you're a UFO that catches cats. I had the background created in Midjourney, the little 8-bit alleyway. It's pretty sick. So every time you eat the cat, which I guess is kind of morbid, you go a little faster. If you want to play this on a desktop, you just go to my website, tupa-cabra.com. That's what it's at. And it's I think that's fun. I don't know what you guys think. What do you guys think? I could turn this into all kinds of stuff too. I mean, maybe it could be like doties that are eating things, or it could be Elizondo's goatee. Oh, so Psychotronic, you should have made it a cow. Obviously, I should have. I looked for an 8-bit version of a cow, and I couldn't find it like readily available. And that's how I ended up on the cat. So you're 100% right. You read my mind. But we just didn't have it. We didn't have it on hand. Either way, yeah, if you want to see that, go to tupa-cabra.com. Check that out. The rest of the site's pretty funny. You got Bill Nye kind of explaining the origins. I animated this. You might ask yourself, why am I showing you this instead of talking about Roswell? That's because we're waiting for Red. Okay? That's the reason. I'm filibustering. Right now. Okay? So, yeah. There's that. I got some merch there. I love these designs. This is Dr. J. Allen Hynek right here, and his son, Paul Hynek, blessed these shirts. He said that they're cool. He said he approves. Him and his brother say have at it. So that's pumped. I got their little endorsement. Pretty pumped. We got our song up here, Alien Mummies. Oh, I think I see red. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Come here, play the Alien versus Cats game. I definitely want your guys' feedback. What other game should we do? I'm working on a game right now actually called Battle of Los Angeles, 1942. So it's basically like missile attack or whatever, but it's LA, so it's sick. It's badass. But yeah, we got Roswell coming up tonight. What do you guys know about that? We're at the 77th anniversary of the whole shebang, right? That's kind of a big deal. All right, we got Red in the mix. I'm cool now, very cool. He likes to do these deep dives into all these little fun facts that you thought you knew, but you realize you had no idea about how deep some of these things go. Roswell's no exception. None at all. We might need spooky music for this. All right, hell yeah. Dude, I can't get this remote viewing thing out of my head. Like, I really can't. I thought it was going to be cool. I thought it was going to be chill. More controversy. Red, get in here. I want to hear about your view of this controversy, dude. I really want to know. Also, have you guys ever tried to code a game? Dude, 8-bit Tupa. Dude, I want to do a side-scrolling shooter 2-player with Red and Tupa. That'd be awesome. That would be really sick. Oh, shit. Okay. Also, what I think I might do is if you get a high score, it's going to reveal a promo code. I don't know. We're just having fun here. We're just spitballing. I heard that. Red. What's up, Red? How's it going, dude?
Can you hear me now?
Cannot hear you. There he is. We got twin Reds. Okay, there we go. We're back down to one. What's up, dog?
So what is the chat saying about Roswell? Just one last little setup thing I have to plug in for my...
Dude, they are looking forward to our deep dive. They're pumped. They're pumped. And I was just filling the time, filibustering, and showing them this Alien arcade game. Red, what do you think? What's the next game? Is it going to be side-scroller Elizondo? Dude, Battle of LA is definitely happening.
It's a battle royale of everyone in ufology. It's gonna be like Street Fighter. It's gonna be like what's it called? Super Smash Brothers ufology.
I like this. Dude, what would you feel about a gauntlet? Several games. One of them being a trivia game, you know what I mean? Several different games. And then like like we have like like tournaments. So the game's always the same. Or we are always playing the same one. I think that'd be sick. We could have different like battles that way instead of doing it in spaces every day. Just have these battles and people are the champions of the champions. And we got our rivals, dude. We go out there and just beat uplifting tweets at Galaga or whatever, and we're good to go.
Yeah, so we're not going to go too deep into like it's actually kind of faded. We're not going to go too deep into the actual crash itself, but don't worry, we're going to go into like a lot of the interesting stuff around it, and because like I said before, this would be like a 10-episode thing if we were just going to kind of go like chronologically, step by step. Yeah, so one more second.
I'm going to say what's up to the chat. We got Derek Doherty. I always fucking mispronounce. Is it Doherty? In the mix. Love seeing you. Love that last name. Dude, the chat's kind of live. Dude, we got Heather challenging 1v1 me for sure. For sure, we got to make some multiplayer games here. Oh, dude. Remember California games on Nintendo? Dude. And hey, what about this boogie situation? Guys, we are tangentially...
I might need to restart my computer.
All right, that's all good. We are tangentially kind of connected to boogie, right? And it's like, what's going on over there? What's going on? You have arcades making a comeback? Maybe. What's the highest score you guys think I can get to? I should just put on some music while we wait for Red's computer to start. There's no pausing this, by the way, so... That's a lot of UFOs. That's a lot of UFOs. VR arcade. It is making a comeback, dude. It really is. My friend walked to us the inside scoop on the real Roswell story. Is this true? Is this true? We got people with the inside scoops here. Okay, we're just bumping some tunes.
Now my shingles are flaring. It burns when I breathe, but there is no comparing to the shame it must feel like to simply be daring. Read, oh Lord, why did you make Darren read? Darren used his ex-wife to execute a plan to remove the children from a woman who dared to take a stand. Something she believed in. Let me tell you something I believe in. Oh Lord, there is no comparing to the embarrassment of just being Darren, not just being Darren.
Guys, this is tough. Pretty tough. I think it's the song about Darren that's throwing me off. God, he can be the worst. He can be the worst. What do you guys? What's the chat on about?
Can you not hear me on the other one?
There he is. I can hear you just now.
Okay, I guess we're gonna have to do it on my phone. Okay.
Whoa! You want me to run the slideshow? I could run the slides. You know how it is over here.
Wouldn't give an icy thing.
Ooh, there we go, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, is it time to start? Is it time to start the presentation? Is it happening right now?
Yes, it is.
I'm not going to make you guys wait a minute. I just like the little pause music. Okay. Hell yeah. Okay, Red. Roswell crash. This is the 77th anniversary. 77 years ago, arguably the most significant UFO event took place that kind of kicked off a lot of what we see today. Where do we start with this story?
See, and that's kind of, this is like, we've been supposed to do it a few days. Oh, we only have 16 slides too, so it's not that long, guys, but it's fun. You're going to leave here knowing something you didn't know before. Can you hear me still? Cool, okay.
Yep, you're in the mix.
Headline edition,
So I might as well start with the original broadcast, right?
July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible latest.
All right, pause. So what do you make of that first bit?
I love it. I love it. It sounds spooky. You know what I mean? It's all in the mix. Like, straight up flying disc. I mean,
has been found.
Yep.
Announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
So yeah, this is kind of what started all the hoopla, right? Because this was announced, and remember, it wasn't too long ago that we covered the anniversary of Kenneth Arnold, right? So Kenneth Arnold happens, and then not too long, I think it's like a few weeks or less than a month, this happens, and they announce it as a flying saucer. So it's kind of interesting, right? The timing of that. And the reason why this was reported is because the Army did actually put out this press release, and this is where all the hoopla starts. So we're not going to get into too much the weeds of, but the basic gist is that initially the Army reported they found a crashed saucer, right? And then they later retracted it and said it was a weather balloon. That's the gist of the whole controversy, right, Chupa?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know it was muted. That's it.
And what is this initial thing? I think it lends to the UFO explanation of this whole thing, right? This initial. I mean, that's the whole reason why there's even kind of a controversy. Well, one of the many reasons, actually, as we'll learn later. But yeah, pretty wild that was reported, national news. Like, how else? I don't see how anybody could take that. Like, why not just say weather balloon, right, at that time or something? You know what I mean? Why say a crash saucer? You know what I mean? It's
very unique and specific phrasing that leaves no room for interpretation. It's, you know what I mean? It's so blatant, like it's so specific. And then when they went around and changed it later.
Headline edition, July 8, 19th Army.
Yeah, and then so now we're gonna listen to it again, but at a certain point, it kind of breaks up into the follow-up days thing when they kind of did the quote-unquote cover story. Whoever you want to talk to, believe, whatever.
Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been in. Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection. Late this afternoon, a bulletin from New Mexico suggested that the widely publicized mystery of the flying saucers may soon be solved. Army Air Force officers reported that one of the strange discs had been found and inspected sometime last week. Our correspondents in Los Angeles and Chicago have been in contact with Army officials endeavoring to obtain all possible late information. Joe Wilson reports to us now from Chicago. The Army may be getting to the bottom of all this talk about the so-called flying saucer. As a matter of fact, the 509th Atomic Bomb Group headquarters at Roswell, New Mexico, reports that it has received one of the discs which landed on a ranch outside Roswell. The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico, and the rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brizzell was the man who discovered the saucer. Colonel William Blanchard of the Roswell Air Base refuses to give details of what the flying disc looks like. In Fort Worth, Texas, where the object was first sent, Brigadier General Roger Ramey says that it is being shipped by air to the AAF Research Center at Wright Field, Ohio. A few moments ago, I talked to officials at Wright Field, and they declared that they expect the so-called flying saucer to be delivered there, but that it hasn't arrived as yet. In the meantime, General Ramey describes the object as being of flimsy construction, almost like a box kite. He says that it was so battered that he was unable to determine whether it had a disc form, and he does not indicate its size. Ramey says that so far as can be determined, no one saw the object in the air, and he describes it as being made of some sort of tinfoil. Other Army...
All right, so you see the flip, right, from one to the other. Initially, it's a flying disc, crash disc, super high importance. They don't know what it is. It's been shipped to Wright Field, Ohio. That's important. We'll kind of touch back on that in a little bit. And then you see the flip that now it's just kind of like tinfoil. So pretty interesting, pretty wild. They also did touch on something there that the 509th Bomber Group was there, and this kind of ties into the whole nuclear thing because the 509th was the ones who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I thought it'd be cool to play. I have we have a little bit of time. Why not have a little fun? We have a little extra time. I'm gonna play from my last main video. This I have a thing I did, a little edit I did of Pearl Harbor and then the bombing of Nagasaki. But so the 509th wasn't affiliated with Pearl Harbor, but we'll just watch this and then we'll watch the. Right, now onto the Hiroshima one. I just wanted to share these. These are fun little.
So what is this?
It's kind of fucking morbid.
But what is this?
These are fun edits, but I was proud of the sound design in them.
No, these are cool. But what is its relation to Roswell?
As they just said in the thing, the 509th Bomb Group was there, and that's where it kind of ties into this whole nuclear connection. Because as we're about to play here, the 509th was the ones who dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So just play this real quick. More little artistic edit for fun.
Correspondents at Air Headquarters on Guam, including CBS's Webley Edwards, though they could not attribute it to any specific source, were allowed to say there is reason to believe that the Japanese city of Hiroshima, approximately the size of Memphis or Seattle or Rochester, New York, no longer exists. General Spot smiled when asked if the new atomic bomb would be dropped again in the near future. But every indication is that it will be, for he announced that more B-29s are...
So, Tupa, did you know this?
Beautiful edit, by the way.
Don't know. What?
Beautiful edit, by the way. That was
Thank you, sir.
Crazy. Crazy little window into that. So these guys, right? So the same guys that were, that dropped that bomb, the pilots, that same unit, they were in Roswell specifically to pick up the parts of the crash. Like they were involved with this.
No, they were based out of Roswell, the 509th Bomber Group. So in that original radio broadcast, you hear them mention the 509th. I don't know if it'll mess it up, but either way, yeah, they were based in Roswell. And this is another thing too, and we're going to actually touch on him a little bit later. Edgar Mitchell grew up around there. There was a lot of air training around Roswell and stuff during the war. You know what I mean? But people do point to this nuclear connection, right? We always hear about the UFO nuclear connection, so maybe that's why if something crashed out there, because they were inspecting it. New Mexico, right? Not too far from Los Alamos, not too far from the Trinity site. So it makes sense they kept everything all kind of near there, right?
Yep.
So pretty wild. And again, like I said, you're gonna learn a lot here, but we're not gonna go just timeline of the thing. So here's just a picture of the weather balloon. So eventually they came out and said it was a weather balloon after initially all the hoopla, and like I said, after saying they sent this wreckage to Wright-Patterson to be inspected. Mind you, if it was a weather balloon, why would you need to send it to somewhere else? And there's all this other stuff that, again, we're not going to really cover all of it. But basically, all these weird movements around the country from different generals and whatnot that we kind of touched on here and there. But let's see, where are we going to go next? So, yeah. So, shouts out to Kirk Collins for this one. He has a really good research site called The Saucers That Time Forgot, which there's a lot of interesting stuff he found. So, the thing about Roswell was basically, after the weather balloon thing, it kind of went dormant, this whole thing, right? People kind of immediately forgot about it. People really trusted the government at the time, right? So them coming out and being like, oh, no, it was a weather balloon. Sorry, we said all that stuff. It was kind of easily believed. So it wasn't really until the 80s that this kind of resurged. But there were little pockets here and there. You know what I mean? In 1947, right, there's Mac Brazel on the left. It was referenced in 1958. Still, though, it wasn't a national story like it is now. So I love this thing. So this is the one I was thinking of. But so Stanton Friedman, Charles Berlitz, and Bill Moore are really responsible for making this popular again. Did you know this too?
No, I didn't know that Stanton Friedman and Bill Moore. That's crazy. Now I remember hearing, and I knew that in the 90s is when people really, because of these books, right? People really started to open up what Roswell was, and then it became the mythical place, right? Am I right in that?
But continue talking, because I forgot I was supposed to look for this one thing, but it was too long to find it. But do you know who Bill Moore is, right?
Yeah, that's Behold a Pale Horse. That's am I tripping? Or is that Bill Cooper?
No, that's Bill Cooper. You know who
Bill Moore is? Bill Moore does talk. I mean, I've noticed him without his mustache normally, and much older. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. So tell me who Bill Moore is. I got my my guys mixed up.
So Bill Moore is from the famed, not just Doty, but Doty Benowitz, the whole thing, the whole shebang. He was almost a point man for that whole thing. And I should find this too. He's the one who I'll find it. I know where to find it. We're at the UFO convention, because this is important, right? People don't realize that the motherfucker who resurfaced Roswell was one Stan Friedman, who said while he was touring, somebody told him about Mac Brazel, who we'll cover. But also Bill Moore, who's kind of infamous for being a known disinfo agent. Do you know that? The biggest case was resurfaced by this guy? Isn't that crazy, Tupa?
No, it's nuts. It's nuts. Nothing's ever what it seems, man. There's always little threads that like connect these things in ways that make you second guess how everything is essentially connected. Crazy.
Yeah, so one of the biggest, most notorious disinfo people of like all of ufology was like really responsible. And honestly, they kind of, so this other guy, Charles Berlitz, he was big on the Bermuda Triangle stuff, but they kind of cut out Stanton Friedman in a weird way. Because nowadays he's really remembered for it, but Bill Moore and Charles Berlitz wrote the first book on Roswell in 1980, I believe it came out. So in the late 70s, they were doing this research. And now, mind you, like late 70s, let's just call it the late 70s. 1947 to 1977, that's like what, a whole 30-year gap period, right?
Yeah, it's a long time.
Real quick, here's damn. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find where it was, but
provide
remember this?
security for a real
There he
UFO
is.
project which exists at a very high level and is known.
So this was the big
only
controversy when he like basically came up and said, I've been a disinformation agent for like the past 8 years.
as part
This
of a
happened in the
security
90s, and he's
process
referring
designed
to
divert
Richard Doty.
attention away from the real.
And yeah, he's talking about like how Paul Benowitz and all this stuff. Oh, here we go. Let's see. I'm trying to find the part because it's like for ufology stuff, right? But this was a big moment in ufology where like people in the audience were like yelling at this dude and like really hating him. Let's see if there's a part where like this other guy has to come up. This is a 5-hour video, by the way, that I'm like having to look through. Damn, I don't know. Dude, look at talking for that long. So fucking dramatic. But I guess they didn't have Twitter spaces to like go back and forth with all day, right? So they just had to go. Also, you're muted too, but I don't know if you know.
No, I know. But you were cracking me up. They did not have these Twitter spaces for sure.
Here we go. I think I found it.
On this matter for more than 6 years. Now you know the truth. Disinformation is a strange and bizarre game. Those who play it are completely aware that an operation's success is dependent upon dropping information upon a target or mark in such a way that the person will accept it as truth and will repeat and even defend it to others as if it were true. Once this has been accomplished, we certainly have a number of rude people in this audience. That's too bad. Once this has been accomplished, the work of the counterintelligence specialist is complete. They can simply withdraw in the confidence that the dirty work of spreading their poison seeds will be done by others. Those who want proof of how well the process works need only look around you. Every time one of you repeats an unverified or unsubstantiated bit of information without qualifying it as such, you are contributing to that process. And every time you do it, somebody in a need-to-know position sits back and has a horse laugh at your expense. One final comment on the Aztec hoax is that 2 other individuals who self-published a voluminous book, UFO Crash at Aztec, on the affair in 1987, chose to completely omit any mention of my extensive research on the case, which had been published 2 years earlier, in which both researchers had copies of. That his this
Frankly, I'm a little ashamed of some people in this audience, regardless of what you believe, what you hear, or not.
Okay, so I'm kind of bouncing around a lot here because I'm trying to
They were
find all
mad.
the proper stuff. But let's see. So Bill Moore, notorious, and I don't know if I got the right clip there. You kind of got parts of it, but he was basically saying, and mind you, because he wrote the Roswell book, and Roswell becomes this whole fucking phenomena, MH370 level, like life of its own case. You know what I mean? In that sense, it was everywhere, and he was huge. So when this happened, and like that was, I think, in like the late '80s or early '90s, when the speech we just watched happened. It was like a really big blow to the community, right? And people always reference this all the time. And then to add insult to injury, like Benowitz ends up like going kind of insane, right? Bill Moore's like friend, and he basically helped Doty psyop Benowitz to get information, is like one of the narratives out there. But that's kind of getting a little bit ahead, but that's just kind of an important, I think, thing to know of like who really resurfaced this stuff, right? Don't you think that's worth noting?
Dude, absolutely. Absolutely. But in your opinion, does that information make you like more skeptical of the Roswell event or believe it more?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll kind of get into that in a little bit too. 1 second.
I mean, I know,
I'm trying to find this
like,
up.
it's crazy to me that it basically wasn't an issue. Roswell wasn't what it is today until this book came out, until these guys started talking about it, and one of them's a known disinformation agent. I mean, that's
Right?
so
It's crazy,
fishy.
dude. It's
Yes.
pretty wild that, and it's like not talked about, because I don't even know if people realize that Stanton Friedman was so integral in bringing this thing to light. You know what I mean? Let alone Bill Moore. Here, so we're gonna stay on this Bill Moore kick for a second. There's this really cool. It was just too long to clip. I used it in my Trump documentary, and we've already talked about it on that front before. Let's see. Can you see this? Cool. This kind of shows them together. Let me see. So look at this, is the Trump part that we kind of covered before, and I make this point in my Trump video. Like, it's crazy to see Trump's uncle in a documentary with Bill Moore and Stan Friedman. But look, can you hear it? No,
I can't hear it. Yeah, no.
Huh. What's it called? The Cosmic Conspiracy? Okay, 1 second.
So that's Trump's uncle. That's the guy who got a hold of Tesla's papers. Genius physicist. And you say that him and Moore are in the same documentary?
Yes, sir. And I'm just
Wild.
I'm looking it up right now because I'm sure it's on.
Coin Exchange is asking. He said Trump documentary. What's the documentary really about? It's not? It couldn't be about John.
This is like a smorgasbord of conspiracy stuff at the time. So he's like one segment, and it's about the Nikola Tesla stuff.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah. Where the hell is it? But wait, oh damn! Keep briefing for 1 second.
I really don't know what I'm going to do about that remote viewing situation. That was wild. Try to do something nice. Yo, I love this aesthetic. This like old school. By the way, this is muted. We can't hear this either. Doom, 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 doom. People want to hear the Skyfire News song.
This is Skyfire News, the best UFO show on the internet. Skyfire News is on the internet. Skyfire News. Skyfire News.
Let him cook.
Fire.
Let him.
So I think we're back to it. Can you hear this?
I suppose I started.
Oh, big time.
Really led me to this point. 62 to
Of the world.
So yeah, this documentary came out in like late 70s, early 80s, right when this was breaking. And so like I said, here's a little bit about Trump. Might as well just play it for a little
Tesla's
bit.
death to inspect his papers.
Exactly
We don't. Dr. John Trump, the founder of high voltage engineering in Boston, Massachusetts, was called in at the time of Tesla's death to inspect his papers. Dr. Trump was one of the few people in America who could read and understand the advanced work that Tesla had been engaged in. But Dr. Trump had been instructed to search for something in particular.
But I was particularly looking for something which would just be evidence of a secret weapon, which I was reminded by the agents, the two agents who were present during the entire time, was
So yeah, interesting. In the same documentary, we get Bill Moore and Stan Freeman, right? And they're kind of really early '80s heyday prime, and I think they talk about this stuff, this Roswell. I'm pretty sure, if not messed up.
Letter of inquiry to the government, any agency of the government, you invariably will get the same answer.
That's Bill Moore, by the way.
Files on US.
That's when he was super young. That's before. This is about a decade before the clip we watched previously of him being like, I was a disinfo agent. But this is him killing it, but currently being a disinfo agent, right? And this is just such an important thing for people to get through their heads in this community, that like the top motherfucker in the '80s who just kind of went away, so kind of people forget about him a lot. Like while he was killing it, he was a disinfo agent. Just remember that, guys. Okay.
UFOs were transferred to the National Archives, Project Blue Book. Material is totally available, and it can be viewed or obtained from the National Archives. There's only one thing wrong with that statement, and that is that it is not true. And it becomes increasingly clear that they have known a great deal, and that they have been keeping it from the American public for reasons known to the government.
I had arranged for Stan and Bill to meet me in my motel room the next day. Primarily, I wanted to question them.
Fucking love this aesthetic, bro. And so the vibe,
dude, it's so cool. Yeah, I think that trying to get this like vibe, right? Even like the bad audio is good.
Further on the cover-up of UFO investigation, and to see if they had any more information on government projects such as the Philadelphia experiment or electric flying craft. I wasn't really prepared for what they told me.
I am convinced, after 24 years now of studying investigation, that the evidence is overwhelming.
So look, that's another thing I don't think people realize. There was a hot minute where Stan Freeman and Bill Moore were like bros, like rolling up together to like motel rooms to like investigate shit. You know what I mean? Did you know that?
No, no. This whole era is kind of not a blur, but I mean, I must have been 2 years old when this was going on. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. We should uncover more stuff from this era specifically, because I think we find a lot of very.
It's so cozy too. I fucking love watching shit from this era.
Of studying investigation, that the evidence is overwhelming that planet Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial vehicles. Some UFOs are somebody else's spacecraft. I'm also convinced that some small group in the government of the United States, and probably in other countries as well, knows very well that we're dealing with alien spacecraft. We're dealing with what in the States is appropriately called a cosmic Watergate. We're not convinced that everything should be put on the table. Technical data, for example, I'm not at all sure should be out on the table, because the key feature about flying saucers, forgetting philosophy, religion, and all those other areas which are certainly important, has to be, how do they work? Every government in the world would like to get its mitts on that kind of technology. Unfortunately, what that would mean, better weapons delivery and defense systems, I suppose. And so I don't think that data should be put on the table unless everybody puts all their data out on the table.
Uh-oh.
He said, "You show me yours, I'll show you mine." Wild. Stanton, kind of a cool dude. Possibly the best negotiator ufology's ever had. That's to be determined, though. We shall see.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know if they talk about Roswell at all there. They're talking about the cover up there, though. But they, as we'll get back to our little thing. Did I get out there for a second?
Yeah, for just a couple seconds. Thought that was a little strange.
All right, so back to this. So they broke this story, right, in like 1980. And, oh, look at even in this image, it's from that documentary. Because, yeah, this is like when they were broing out. As I said, Stan Freeman, I didn't clip this, but he says it all the time. He basically said he was lecturing, doing a lecture tour in the late 70s, and somebody told him about Jesse Marcel, who we're going to cover a little bit more here in a bit. But something that people don't know that I'd love to harp in on, and you know this, is before their book even came out, while they were still working on it, though, the National Enquirer beat everybody, and they're the first interview with Jesse Marcel, the one who would later say that, like, I was told to lie and stuff, and we'll get into that picture too, right? We're kind of doing all the
Really?
stuff around it. But yes, the National Enquirer, the big tabloid that everyone says is all full of fake stuff, kind of like undercut Bill Moore and Stan Freeman, which is the hilarious part is, right, they undercut Bill Moore, who's just like also a disinfo agent, to be the ones to rush out this story. Yeah, isn't that wild? Did you know this at the National Enquirer? And shouts out Kirk Collins again. I have to remember to actually put this one in the description because he found this, and this just blew my mind and just confirmed what I already kind of think and personally feel, is that the National Enquirer was totally an op to like obfuscate a lot of these topics.
What's the modern National Enquirer, do you think?
We probably will get flagged for this, but it starts with the letter and has a non in it, because it's just kind of like an online version of it where you could tie a bunch of stuff to it. It's always like on the news as like the big bad, but they can never find it. But an HBO guy could find it in the Philippines. But it's scary enough to be on the news every night for like 2 years and like a big threat to America. But you guys can't find out the source of it though. But yeah.
All right, I think there's some truth to that. National Enquirer, first one to pick it up. Okay, and they're a controlled op.
This, right? This is. I feel like this is. When I learned this, I was like, "Holy crap!" Just when you thought you knew everything about Roswell.
No, I had no idea. I would have assumed that it would have been all over the all news things forever. You know what I mean? Since it happened, that's what I would be led to believe.
Oh, like even through the 60s? Yeah, no, it was dead from the 50s, 60s, 70s, is until the late. Did you even know that like Stanton Friedman is very much like associated with Roswell?
What do you mean? Like, there's no way he was there.
No,
or do you mean
like,
the town? The town.
Him bringing it back, and like he wrote a lot of books on it and did a lot of these interviews that we're going to look at here later.
Nope.
In a bit.
No, not at all. This is blowing my mind.
Amount of wreckage.
So this is Jesse Marcel. This is the guy who was part of the press cleanup crew, who kind of got patsied in a way. Some people will say, like, he was the one that was made to look dumb, that he misidentified this stuff. Because that's the other thing, too, about the whole cover-up angle. People want to say mogul, a weather balloon. Like, there was an effort to acknowledge that the initial thing of a flying saucer was wrong, right? You know what I mean? It's not like he was made to look dumb. Do you get what I'm saying or no? Maybe not. But let's just watch this clip. Because he's the one who kind of went public. He's talking to Stanton Friedman. He's talking to Bill Moore. He's also talking to the National Enquirer. They're the first ones to ever publish an interview with him in 1979, a few months before that book came out by Bill Moore. But yeah, so this is the guy who kind of really bring this all to light. Let's hear what he had to say about the whole situation.
One thing I was certain of, being familiar with all our activities, that it was not a weather balloon, nor an aircraft, nor a missile. It was something else of which we didn't know what it was. They were just fragments strewn all over the area, an area about 3/4 of a mile long and several hundred feet wide. So we proceeded to pick up the parts. A lot of it had a lot of little members with symbols.
Was it super choppy earlier? I don't know what's going on here.
No, that just happened. That just started. I think it's a solar flare.
That to me,
Amount of wreckage.
one thing I was certain of, being familiar with all our activities, that it was not a weather balloon, nor an aircraft, nor a missile. It was something else of which we didn't know what it was. They were just fragments strewn all over the area, an area about 3/4 of a mile long and several hundred feet wide. So we proceeded to pick up the parts. A lot of it had a lot of little members with symbols that, to me, I call them hieroglyphics because I could not interpret them, could not be read. They were just like symbols of something that meant something. These little members could not be broken, could not be burned. I even tried to burn that, would not burn. See, that stuff weighs nothing. It's not any thicker than tinfoil in a pack of cigarettes. Says, I tried to bend this stuff. Says, it will not bend. He says, we did all we could to bend it. It would not bend. He says, we even tried making a dent in it with a 16-pound sledgehammer. He says, still no dent in it.
A woman working in a radio station in Albuquerque, New Mexico, started to transmit on a news wire the story of Major Marcel's recovery of a crashed flying saucer. The FBI interrupted that communication with the statement, "Do not continue this transmission." An official Army press release was put out announcing the capture of portions of a flying saucer. Major Marcel escorted the wreckage on a B-29 to Carswell Air Force Base. The press was waiting for him, but he was told not to say anything by his commander, General Ramey.
The newsmen saw very little of the material, a very small portion of it. And none of the important things, like these members that had these hieroglyphics or markings on, they wanted me to tell them about it, and I couldn't say anything. And when the general came in, he told me not to say anything, that he would handle it.
Okay, so yeah, Jesse Marcel coming forward in like the late 70s. And it's crazy, there's always a debunk for everything. And I still don't even know what the fuck actually happened in Roswell. But it is something, right? People like, even the debunkers got to admit, like the dude who was like responsible for the kind of a lot of the press release relating to this event. People be like, oh, well, he's discredited, he's crazy, he's this, he's that. Like, he was the guy that they went to put out the message. I don't know. What do you think, Tupa?
No, that's a good point. He's that guy. God, the historical relevance of this stuff is crazy, dude. Yeah, I didn't know how these guys were questioned. I didn't know how these guys were like received. It's kind of cool seeing this old shit.
And isn't it cool seeing too, like everything you hear about basically comes from people that like look this age but were that age when it all went down. Gotta go to the restroom real quick. But
that's what always trips me up about historical footage. Anyway, honestly, is like trying to frame it. You know what I mean, and find context for where we're at. It's weird, because even young people from back in the day look like old people now.
Think about how different it would be if all these interviews happened in like the 50s. When we have that General Samford footage of like after the 1952 flyover, right? And it's like, and Kehoe's there. Think about if instead of all these people being like 30 years later, white, gray hair, what if it was like 5 years later and like footage like the Samford one and they're just recounting what happened? You know what I mean? Like it really goes to show like when things happen, when they're recorded, the circumstances by which certain people feel comfortable talking at what points. Like those all I think are important things to like note with any case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this one has to be part of that too.
Like how different would it be if what I said happened? If this interview, this groundbreaking interview happened 5 years later with like in like a black and white, still Jesse Marcel looking like that on the left, saying these exact same things. You know what I mean?
It'd be way different. It'd be way different. But back then it was easier to keep the secrecy, man. Like, you know what I mean? Back then it was just so much easier to put a lid on stuff. There weren't cameras everywhere. People wanted to tell their story, and everyone was more patriotic. So the military guys that are coming into contact with these things, I mean, they had a lot more reason to stay quiet than anybody else. And now knowing that it was the, you know what I mean, like remnants of the Manhattan Project, the secrecy from that kind of carried over. Kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, and I got some stuff coming up right here about the secrecy. That's like some of the enforcement methods. Because what's interesting about him is, so he comes out and then he kind of like inspires this whole wave of other like boomer-esque people who were young at the time. But then I think within there's also like hucksters that come out that people always point to as like, oh, this person is like factually incorrect. But it's kind of cool because like again, I don't know, people who just know the name Roswell, they don't know that it was kind of like this whole like boomer movement of like people who were like experienced it years ago and all kind of at the same time were like, all right, fuck it, let's talk about it.
It's a whole generational fucking difference, man. There was so much empty space between the event and the conversation. We gotta get some music back up in here. What happened to our
No,
spook tunes?
we're good, we're good. But yeah, that's a fair point, and honestly, a fair criticism of the debunkers, right?
Yeah, it is.
There's this 30-year gap in events.
It's definitely worth noting, and then to disregard it, I think, would be disingenuous. You know what I mean? Like, you got to kind of come clean about that. What does that mean? How do we tackle that? You know, because I think debunkers would say, like, look, that's enough time to make up an entire story. That's enough time to make up a narrative, and they're not wrong. You know, it's a lot of time, but.
Credit to Lou Reviews, because he told me this once, or told us, but that when you remember something, you like remember the memory, and it's just kind of this like never-ending chain of copy and paste.
No, that's true.
30-year memory, you know, that's why you got to respect at least that Alex Dietrich, Commander Fravor, they're so young and whatnot. You know what I mean?
The material that we.
Here's another Jesse Marcel clip. He was just like, "Screw it, I'm getting old. I want to do it." And that's another interesting thing, right? There are these grifter claims and whatnot, but when these people like do it like old, I think it does add credence, right? These people were like, "I was in the military, and I'm about to die. Here's this." Any thoughts on that dynamic of this like story?
Oh yeah, the deathbed confessions. I think this is like one of the best places to get them. That's partially because there's such a gap, right, in years between the event and then the popularity of the event. So getting these guys' stories, you know, again, they're patriotic. They don't want to like harm their country even on accident. So yeah, they're going to hold on to that to the secrets for a lot longer than they maybe should have, right? And
that's a good point too. But it's like there's a plus and minus to having them do it right away and to having them do it right before they die, in terms of just like what it adds in terms of validity, memory. It's kind of this weird give and take.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's another clip of him just kind of, as he would say, blowing the whistle, right?
Picked up, weighed anything. Looked like it was weightless. You couldn't feel that you had anything in your hands. I found one piece of metal, what looked like metal anyway. It was not flexible, but it was as thin as a foil in a pack of cigarettes. It was that thin. One of my boys told me, he said, "There's something unusual here." He said, "I tried to make a depth in this metal." He says, "You can't bend it. You can't make a mark on it." He says, "I took a sledgehammer and whammed it. I put it on the ground and whammed it. The sledgehammer bounced off of it." He told me not to say anything. He says, "I'll handle it from now on." And that's exactly what he did. When he came out, he told the press that was there, he said, that was nothing but a weather balloon, crashed weather balloon. It was definitely not a weather balloon. And it was an aircraft. So what it could have been, I wouldn't know. I still don't know.
They took pictures, of course. They had a whole flock of microphones there. They wanted me they wanted some comments from me, but I wasn't at liberty to do that. So all I could do is keep my mouth shut. And General Ramey is the one who discussed or told the newspapers, the newsmen, what it was and to forget about it. It was nothing more than a weather observation balloon, of course, which we both knew differently. We left Roswell perhaps around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As you can see, it's flat. It is very difficult. In fact, with just verbal directions, we never would have found it. We had to follow the rancher out there. The following morning, we went out to the site where the crash was. And what I saw, I couldn't believe there was so much of it. It was scattered over such a vast area. So we proceeded to pick up as much of the debris as we could, loaded in a wagon. We filled that up. It took us a good part of the day to do that, because there's such small fragments that we had to do a lot of picking. We found a piece of metal about a 1.5 to 2 feet wide and about 2 or 3 feet long. Felt like you had nothing in your hands. It wasn't any thicker than the foil out of a pack of cigarettes. But the thing about that got me is that you couldn't even bend it. You couldn't dead it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off of it.
And again, this is kind of why we bring up the 509 bomber thing, because as you said, right, it almost resembles Manhattan Project secrecy. Well, there already was that element there because of the 509. So Jesse Marcel, and this is what people will say to his credit, like, you don't become the spokesperson of this nuclear armed base and immediately post-war still reflare up the Cold War tensions around this nuclear stuff, right? It's not just like a casual base, you know what I mean? That's kind of why that's also an important part of this story with people like him, and whether you consider his testimony valid or not.
No, that's a really good point. I mean, it adds credibility to his story. I mean, these guys were no joke. Okay, that's really good. That's important context for sure.
Yes, sir. All right, let's see. Continuing along. Okay, so Werner von Braun. Here we go. So this is, like I said, we're not going to go like point for point, but this is something really interesting. I did this video on Edgar Mitchell. One of the interesting things I learned was, one, Edgar Mitchell right here on the right, Apollo astronaut. Right here we have Werner von Braun. Yuri Geller is here. Shouts out. He's not really relevant to this story, but there's a picture of all of them together. Werner von Braun was like basically the head of rocketry in Nazi Germany. Very talented scientist in terms of like rocket engineering and whatnot. After the war, he became one of the paperclip scientists, one of the most sought after ones. And he was brought over to the USA and basically would go on to head NASA. And that's where he would meet Edgar Mitchell, who by chance, Edgar Mitchell was like a teenager during all the Roswell stuff and happened to live like in the same town. So that's pretty wild, pretty random. Eventually, they would meet in NASA, right? This is after Nazi Germany, many years after Roswell. And Edgar Mitchell would bring it up to him and basically, and we'll listen to it here. Let's just listen to it. Let's see.
Well, it wasn't just any one person. It was the accumulation of evidence of people. And then some of the Roswell people, some of the military people, certainly Werner von Braun, whom I knew quite well, presumably, and according to the stories and what he's told to me also, was supportive in that the paperclip people from Germany were at Fort Bliss at the time of all this happened. And I became very close to Werner. And he dropped a few hints. He didn't discuss it with me at great depth, but we did become close enough that he didn't hold it back, really. At that point that I really knew from multiple sources saying the same thing, that it was all true. By and large, the phenomenon itself was correct. Now, that doesn't mean that he went around talking about it all the time, but he was apparently there and asked to investigate at that first incident because of his rocketry knowledge.
That was like, honestly, in my whole Edgar Mitchell video, which I'm very proud of, although I need to redo the audio. And I feel like I learned a lot about him and really got a good like chronology of like some of the like Easter eggs about his life, right? Because I call him the Forrest Gump of ufology, because like he's literally a teenager when Roswell happens. But that was really interesting. He basically says that Werner von Braun told him that a bunch of the paperclip people were brought out to investigate Roswell, and I had never really heard that. And, you know, people will say Edgar Mitchell's crazy, blah, blah, blah. I disavow. But he definitely knew Werner von Braun, right? They were definitely homies. And I think that definitely, I don't think he would just make that up, right? I think Werner von Braun definitely told him at least that I and other paperclip scientists were brought out to investigate the Roswell crash. And I just never really hear about this paperclip element of it. But that's it's like, yeah, okay, you don't hear too much of it. But that from that source, I find very interesting. Do you have any thoughts on that, Tupa?
Yeah, I believe him. I think that Werner von Braun found himself involved in a lot of really like kind of spookier things back in the day, for personally. And so like, you know, hearing his name referenced so many times, especially by Mitchell, I believe him. I mean, the guy went to the moon. Why wouldn't von Braun be like incredibly interested in what he had to say? And you know,
and
we
they
can't
were
forget
friends. They, like he's here hanging out with. He's there looking at Yuri Geller's crazy ass because of Edgar Mitchell. You know what I mean? If that's not a friend, I don't know what else is.
Dude, exactly. That old Nazi bastard.
Anyone's capable of a redemption arc, right? Okay. So yeah, that's interesting.
Dr. Dave Rudiak.
Oh, okay. Here's here's something really interesting. So in the 90s, and this is from an upcoming video I have in mind about the effect computers and the internet had on ufology, but they were able, and Danny Sheehan has referenced this, they were able to analyze some of and I think with AI, they could probably do the whole fucking thing now, but they were able to look at this picture that was released of the press conference and look at the memo, the infamous Ramey memo, who, if you'll recall, Jesse Marcel was like basically attributing all of this like cover up to Ramey, right? So the Ramey memo, and they're able to decode what it says. Do you know about this, Tupa?
No, sir.
So this
okay, yes. Okay.
Danny Sheehan has talked about this. So
yeah, that's what I remember. He talked about it. Getting the information off of this was quite a feat. But film is interesting. Oh my God.
As a research scientist who believes he has found the long-hoped-for smoking gun of the Roswell incident in a photograph that's been in the public record since 1947.
Even though I had believed that something very unusual had happened at Roswell, I was surprised at what I read in here. I wasn't expecting to see some of this stuff.
Rudiak has spent the last 2 years using computer imaging to analyze what Roswell researchers know as the Ramey memo.
First, there was the Roswell-based press release. About an hour after the press release, General Ramey was already speaking on the phone to reporters in the Pentagon press room and saying it looked like a weather balloon to him and a radar target. And that is, in fact, what is pictured here. So they brought in the photographer from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. He took 6 photos. 4 of the photos have General Ramey, and he's holding this message in his hand. In 3 of those photos, the message is turned away from the camera. In this particular photo, though, for some reason, it's facing the camera. And fortunately for us, the image is of sufficient quality that we can read quite a bit of the message. And it tells, I think, a very remarkable story.
That guy's like, I'm about to own this shit, bro. This computer's about to blow your mind, yo.
During the GAO investigation, U.S. Air Force representatives claimed they tried to enhance this photo themselves. Their official conclusion was that even using state-of-the-art equipment, it was totally unreadable.
This is the map.
I'm just going to pause maybe for some copyright stuff, but that's a good point too, right? Because this is what we're going to talk about too. That Roswell has had like, so first off, it was dead for 30 years, but then it's had like multiple like bursts in energy and life into it. So like in the early 80s, Marcel coming out. In the 90s, there was like a really big push, and I did a video. I interviewed Ed Comerick and like the Operation Need to Know guys, Mike Jameson, about like this big like protest push that was, and there was a really big 90s push that Roswell was almost like the centerpiece of, and it got like a new burst of light. And each time the Air Force was always a little sus, and right there they kind of reference it too. So we're gonna get into more of it, but that's what they're kind of referencing because this is happening in the 90s now. What's going on? Where we're looking at what technology was able to bring to this old case. Let's see.
Well, the Air Force said that their high-level government organization, photo analysis lab, could not read anything on. And if we zoom in here, you can obviously make out some of the words quite easily. And everybody sees this here. This is, the 2 words here are weather balloons. These words are very important because it tells us that this is about Roswell, because Ramey's trying to sell a weather balloon story to the press. It's not his lunch order. It's not his laundry list. It's not Mrs. Ramey telling him to bring groceries home. All right.
Rudiak's inquiry began by focusing on the most readable key words and phrases.
Here's the word disc, and it's in quotes because there's a new use of the word, and they typically put the word disc in quotes. Another group of words that everybody sees are right here. It's Fort Worth, Texas.
Another key word was identified, both by Rudiak and other researchers who have analyzed the memo.
Up here is a key word that was picked out by the first group. They read this as victims up here. Here's a graphic of this keyword victims. These letters underneath are actual teletype font. I'm just assuming that we have these 4 letters. The question is how many words in the English language will fit that? And here they are. The only word that seems to fit is victims. So the word victims is critical because it's really the first documentary confirmation that there actually were casualties or bodies involved with Roswell. It's all been based on witness testimony up to this point.
Rudiak believes that by piecing together the most legible words and phrases, even the simplest reading of the Ramey memo is incriminating.
See, and I think whatever it comes to the conclusion of, I think they definitely got some words right there, and I think they go a little bit more into it. But it goes to show, right? They never suspect that technology will catch up with their bullshit, Huntipa.
That's for real. And now with AI, dude.
Never expect it.
Of course, if you have this phrase up here, which is in the first paragraph, says, and the victims of the wreck. If there were victims, this can't be explained by a balloon crash. This is one of 7 known photographs that was taken at Fort Worth Army Airfield on July 8th, 1947. This is General Roger Ramey seated here. Next to him is his Chief of Staff, Colonel Thomas Dubose, who later said that this weather balloon that they had displayed was just a cover story that they used to get the press off their backs.
After 2 years of research, Dr. Rudiak believes he has interpreted the entire text of the memo in General Ramey's hand.
So here's the first paragraph. It reads, Fort Worth Army Airfield acknowledges that a disc, again in quotes, is the next new find west of the cordon. If I'm reading this correctly, they found the main disc west of the cordon, and General Ramey is confirming this. And then it goes into this phrase, and the victims of the wreck. You forwarded to possibly the team, some sort of team at Fort Worth, Texas. So you have something in the disc, the aviators in the disc, they were going to ship them by a B-29 special transport, it's abbreviated as ST, or a C-47. I have about 80% confidence in what I have here. I think at least 80% of the words are correct here. I think even if people contest most of the words that I've come up with, that there's enough words that are clear enough, such as in the disc, victims of the wreck, that it puts the lie to the whole balloon explanation, and also to the Air Force's claim in 1994 that nothing could be read in this message.
3 weeks after the backhoe excavation.
So do you think about that? Do you have pretty interesting stuff, huh?
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. The chat thinks that AI is going to solve that problem, and I think it does. AI needs to get on it right now.
I think so too.
This is interesting. UAP Jacques Vallée said what keeps him up at night is using AI to study UFOs. Yeah, it's a big deal.
This is and now we're going to get into some things different people have said about Roswell. Got, of course, Donnie.
Would you ever open up Roswell and let us know what's really going on there?
So many people ask me that question.
I know it sounds almost ridiculous, but it's actually the real question I want to know.
It sounds like a cute question, but it's actually, there are millions and millions of people that want to go there, that want to see it. I won't talk to you about what I know about it, but it's very interesting. But Roswell's a very interesting place with a lot of people that would like to know what's going on.
So you're saying you may declassify?
No.
You'll take it?
Well, I'll have to think about that one. Right?
This freaking guy. Fugazi. What do you think? Do you think he knows about Roswell, or is he just trolling to troll?
Yeah, I think he knows about Roswell and JFK, and I think that they're connected.
Incredible as
there you go, Ross, friend of the show.
It may seem, Roswell was true, the 1947 Roswell crash. There are multiple other crash retrievals that have allegedly taken place. Now, why do I know this? Why can I feel confident about feeling that Mr. Grush is saying what he's saying and that it's true? To the extent that a journalist can feel that something is corroborated, I have spoken to multiple witnesses on background who have assured me not only that Mr. Grush is a witness of high repute and high credibility, I have spoken to people who have directly witnessed what he's saying he's been told about. I asked David Grush, what about bodies? And he does confirm that there have been non-human, yes, alien bodies recovered. Incredible as it may seem, the United States government and possibly other governments in the world are in possession not only of non-human technology, craft and other technology, they're also in possession of alien bodies. I have spoken to people who have told me that they have seen alien bodies. When I was first told that by those people, I did not for the life of me believe it. I've still got trouble dealing with it. And frankly, as I've said repeatedly, I don't think I'll believe any of this until I have the opportunity to kick the tires of the flying saucer and shake the hand of the nearest alien. I mean, it's an incredibly confronting issue to hear these kind of claims when we've all been taught in the media, we've been socially conditioned to accept that this is something that must be ridiculed.
So Ross has been told it's real. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, he talks a lot. Ross is like one of the best cheerleaders for this. I'm not surprised.
That's the point, right? He's a it's not always in a bad way, but he's a cheerleader of the Disclosure Bros, right? So I think him being pro Roswell, it shows that like the current mainstream disclosure movement is pro Roswell. Something went down, which I think is good, right?
Yeah, I agree. Something went down. We got to get to it. And I just kind of like hearing Ross talk.
We got Lou, the dream team. Lou, Fessler, and Rob Hatherley. Let's go.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
The wolf pack, let's go. The gang's all there, dude. That's peak. That was prime time. That was a peak disclosure tonight. All right, so here's Lou and Fessler and Hatherley on Roswell.
You feel the government attempted to reverse engineer the memory metals, or we have any of those kind of things in our hands? Because I know Anthony Bragalia had gone and did a FOIA request and got all this information that came across to him. And when he called back, he got, instead of the person who gave him the material, he got Susan Goff, who was denying everything.
I got to be really careful what I talk about regarding potential materials. If you ask me my personal belief.
Yes, your personal belief.
My personal belief in Roswell, 100%. But I cannot speak officially.
That's fine.
And I can't discuss about anything else.
I love that shit. That's such a Louism. My personal belief on Roswell, 100%.
100%.
100%, brother.
Dude, didn't that come up in when during the Your Mom's a Hooker thing when they played that game with Elizondo on UCR, like leave it, like investigate, whatever.
First, let's watch this when Rob Salas called out Lou.
Robert, I can see you bursting at the seams.
Yeah,
I feel like you
well,
got
I didn't-
something to say.
I came
And real
on
quick,
here. I
real
came
quick.
on here. I didn't realize this was the Lou Elizondo show.
Well, it's not the Lou Elizondo show.
As far as I know, I'm the only witness on this show. So, do you have any questions for me?
Bro.
Well, you followed you a little bit. Okay, so the name of the game is called Stick With It, Let's Move On, or BS. All right, so that's how you have to answer the topic that comes up. Stick with it, let's move on, or BS. So let's start with a big one. You ready? Roswell.
Stick with it.
Cattle mutilations.
That was the first question, right? Let's go back one more time.
Start with
And we'll just play it through.
Ready?
I can't believe it was the first question.
Roswell.
Stick with it.
So just before we play it all the way through, because it is kind of interesting to come back to this, because this is kind of a big disclosure in a short amount of time. This is a great tactic just to get a lot of info out in a short time. But we got, on Roswell from Lou, we got 100% and a stick with it. So worth noting.
Cattle mutilations.
Let's move on.
Alien abductions.
And by the way, let me count. Let's move on for now.
Yes. Good. Okay. That perfect. Alien abductions.
Let's move on.
Okay. Underground military bases. Alien bases.
BS.
Wait, what?
Wait, hold up. Alien bases? That's kind of a big statement from Lou, right?
Underground alien bases, but he said BS.
Oh, he said BS. Oh, okay.
Play it again. Let's see.
BS.
Wait, what?
On.
Okay. Underground military bases. Alien bases.
BS.
Wait, what? Did you say yes?
BS.
BS.
Oh, BS. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Very God.
I saw rather things too. Okay. Yeah, okay. BS. Total BS. Underground
Cheeto,
alien
baby.
bases. All right. Grassroots UAP efforts like the Big Phone Home.
Stick with it, baby.
Yeah.
You getting psyop, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
False flag operations. Alien bases. All right. Grassroots UAP efforts like the Big Phone Home.
Stick with it, baby.
Yeah. All right.
For the lie
false flag
detector test
operations.
determined that was a lie.
Stick with it, baby.
Yeah. All right. False flag operations.
They've existed in the past, so let's move on only simply because.
Okay, let me clarify. UAP false flag narratives.
Well, we know that actually has occurred in the past, so we can't say BS, and I don't want to say stick with it because it's not occurring now. So that's why I say let's move on, simply because there's elements that have some truth in that in the past, but I don't see that right now as being.
It's
at least
it's not occurring
that
now.
I'm facing inside the government, but that's not your concern, and that's a fight that we have to deal with. It's more obfuscation, I think, than it is false flag.
Got it.
Obfuscation, where they like.
Let's move on. We don't have enough data yet.
All right. Public UAP hearings.
Stick with it.
Yeah. Secret space wars on Mars.
BS.
Yeah, thank you. Susan Goff will be more transparent in the future.
Is there a layer even more harsh than BS by chance?
Oh my God. Okay, moving on. Pressure the Air Force to be more transparent.
Stick with it.
Dino beavers.
I have no idea what. I know what dino testing is on a car, and I know what a beaver is.
Do you believe at this point he didn't know what a dino beaver was after the last book that outed his remote viewing skills was roasted for dino beavers by like everyone? Do you believe that, Tuba?
No. And then I mean, maybe on the spot, but I just really think that there's only one time that those combination of words have ever been used, and he knows how silly it is, so he's pretending that he doesn't. He does. It's not in his mind right away.
Am I being too much of an ass to be like?
No, I just think that you're right. It was his friends that said it. You know what I mean? And if it happened on the ranch and he knows about it for sure, and it's he knows, dude. Skinwalker at the Pentagon, dude.
Also, I want to shout out Christian. We love our Lou crew here, bro. We can celebrate Lou's wins too.
Yeah,
don't feel
for sure.
If you support Lou here by any means.
No. Because I mean, the chapter on Lou has yet to be written. You know what I mean? It's not over yet, and we don't know what's proven, what's not proven. We just know associations and whatnot. You know what I mean? And also, people have stories. Stories are coming out. People who contacted with him, have been in contact with him, and yeah, that's kind of what we go from. But by no means are we the definitive. Is our opinion of the guy, who he is and who he is to everybody.
Gary to do a 4-part medium series like McGowan did. That's
yes.
Stick with it.
Dino beavers.
I have no idea what. I know what dino testing is on a car, and I know what a beaver is, and I know,
You don't know what
another
dino
kind
beavers are, Lou? You have dino beavers, Lukatsky, skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
I know about the wolves and stuff like that, but not the dino beavers.
Okay. All right. So pass. I'll give you a pass.
Okay.
Skinwalker Ranch.
Stick with it.
Okay. And last but not least, who's Lou?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right.
BS, by the way.
BS, by the way. I would.
Yeah, looking rather in Lou being social BS, by the way, about who's Lou, about Manny's documentary.
Oh, Lord.
And last but not least, who's Lou?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right.
BS, by the way.
BS, by the way. I would say BS.
Lower category, even. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Susan.
BS so strong you blow your hair back. I mean, people are coming to me like, Lou, are you really not married? I'm like, dude, I got married in Arapahoe County, not Florida. Okay. And they're like, oh, who's this picture of these two girls? I'm like, well, the lady behind that woman is my wife. She didn't want to be in the picture. So, if I was having an affair with somebody, it'd be really hard to have done that. So it's garbage.
Wait, the Who's Lou documentary dives into is he having an affair or not?
I don't think it says that overtly, but it does raise questions about, like, who is this woman? Why is he moving into a house with this woman and then moving into a house here?
Okay, I gotta see this goddamn thing.
You gotta watch it, bro.
I know, dude.
But you know what's crazy is that you see Radley right there, like, BS, by the way, like, fuck Who's Lou, fuck Manny, like.
Yes, you're buttering him up, bro.
Later is the whole, like, your mother's a hooker thing. It's the same episode.
Oh, it is the same episode. Okay, crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, let's get back to Roswell. Now we know what Lou thinks about it, right? He says there's something there. And honestly, I think so does Trump, right? There's something there. What is it? I don't know. Arden says, yeah, that's the same episode. Crazy.
All right, you know me and Tuba love to riff on this Lou psyop shit, bro. My bad. All right, back to Roswell. Let's just watch it again. The dream team on Roswell.
Regarding Roswell, do you feel the government attempted to reverse engineer the memory metals, or we have any of those kind of things in our hands? Because I know Anthony Bragalia had gone and did a FOIA request and got all this information that came across to him. And when he called back, he got, instead of the person who gave him the material, he got Susan Goff, who was denying everything.
I got to be really careful what I talk about regarding potential materials. If you ask me my personal belief.
Yes, your personal belief.
My personal belief in Roswell, 100%. But I cannot.
100%. You will say, hoorah. Fessler should totally bring back the choker. Thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it was very The Cure or Constantine of him. The Craft.
Let's dissect this a little bit. So Lou Elizondo is 100% on Roswell. Where do you think he's drawing this from?
The narrative.
It's like the mainstream narrative, or do you think maybe
with
an A-tip he had access to something that, like, confirmed it beyond what the public knows, you think? Or just what the public knows and he's 100% all in, just for, like, the vibes?
I think that the latter. What the public knows and he's 100% all in. It's part of their little culty, like, mythos, you know what I mean? It's an event that has to have occurred because it's part of their, it's a sacred part of the story.
So I think the most succinct way of asking it is, you don't think he has any, like, inside knowledge about Roswell that the average American can't get, like, on the internet?
I wouldn't go that far. I think he probably does. And what he knows lends itself to that as well.
Let's explore that a little bit. What do you think he knows, and why would he know it from where? Just freeballing, just thinking out loud,
I think that he would know it from his inner circle. Nothing. I don't know if he's ever seen anything official, but I think within his inner circle, like, people know, little nods, little confirmation, maybe a piece of paperwork that he's seen, something like that. Maybe something that confirms a body, right? But, like, his crew from Put Off to Valet, right? These guys have been around forever. They consider it as fact, and they always say that one another can't tell lies. They'll say some weird shit like that all the time. So I think they give a lot of credence to each other about like what they know. But has Lou seen evidence that proves Roswell was 100% real? To be determined. Really though, I can't say one way or the other.
One more. It's kind of like a weirdly long and short. We did learn some stuff. We didn't like I said, we're not going to deep dive it super crazy. But here's Grush kind of speaking about how he can't speak about it.
Grush says shortly after the dawn of the atomic age, another major crash recovery took place. You've probably heard of it.
What can you tell me about the Roswell craft? Fortunately, those details were not approved for me to talk about right now.
This much we know. In 1947, an object crashed in the New Mexico desert near the town of Roswell. The Air Force recovered material described as metallic and rubbery, though the government changed its story as to what it was, calling it a flying disc at first, then a weather or spy balloon.
It just read ridiculous to me that the US Air Force had changed its story. Yeah, and they added additional elements over time and tried to conflate additional programs to explain some of the events. Why are these things crashing? Yeah.
Pause. That's another Tom DeLonge talking point. I mean, just part of the narrative, right? Is that after Roswell, you have like the creation of the Air Force, creation of the CIA, all within like a month or two. And people were always like, "Oh, look at they had to like reorg everything because of this stuff." Yeah. What I find interesting is, let me see if we could hear this.
Landing or crashing around the world, and unexpected countries have had this happen, and that's why I picked that, because I thought that was a interesting case. And then of course Pope Pius XII and the Vatican were involved, back channeling it through the OSS, which became the CIA later, to FDR, and that's how the US knew something weird happened in Italy right before World War II. But
so this is 33 was the first like documented.
That is the earliest one I can talk about. Yeah.
There's something that predates that?
You could infer that.
You could infer that.
Yeah.
So this 33 one you said was in Italy?
Joe Rogan is like, Joe Rogan's like, fuck you, you can infer that for sure. He's so over this shit by this point.
I'm bad at,
and this is like the most important one. Like he's always off like the Tom DeLonge when I feel like okay, let me just press play.
Geography, I think that's like Lombardy region. It's like northwest Italy.
And what's the story behind it?
So basically it looked like it crashed, right? The original shape most likely was like a lenticular disc-like craft, with like two dinner plates.
What
right?
does lenticular mean?
So like two dinner plates, smushed together, right? The hump, and there's like a like a bubble on top.
Like the classic,
like
saucer.
like that.
Like that. Okay.
But
much of Joe Rogan, because you know how they are. But I show that to show you and we're gonna go back to this other one real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Where are we at? Okay. I'm going to just replay this because he says he can't talk about Roswell, but he can talk about that 1933 one. And I think that's just kind of an interesting thing to know.
Grush says shortly after the dawn of the atomic age, another major crash recovery took place. You've probably heard of it.
What can you tell me about the Roswell craft? Fortunately, those details were not approved for me to talk about right now.
This much we know. In 1947, an object crashed in the New Mexico desert near the town of Roswell. The Air Force recovered material described as metallic and rubbery, though the government changed its story as to what it was, calling it a flying disc at first, then a weather or spy balloon.
It just read ridiculous to me that the US Air Force had changed its story. Yeah, and they added additional elements over time and tried to conflate additional programs to explain some of the events. Why are these things crashing? Yeah, some are landed, some are crashed.
So what do you make of that?
Yeah.
Because he's able to talk about this 1933 case, but not about Roswell. At least he claims this.
Well, one of them took place in Italy. After it got over here or whatever, who knows what happened. Maybe it's not as secretive. and then the Roswell one just being kind of off the books. Maybe that can help us kind of figure out what was found or infer what kinds of things were found. Maybe it's the importance of it. Maybe the one that crashed in Italy was, stripped of parts before they could get to it, before they could find anything out. Nothing is too classified there, no crazy discoveries, just the facts that it happened. And then the Roswell one could be different. That one could be more high security, more high priority based on what they found. So there's like two classifications, right? There's like the fact that it happened, that's its own little secret, but also what was on it, what was within it, what did they find in it, what information was gained from investigating it. That seems like another level of classification.
Yeah, here's another little edit I made. This was supposed to be earlier in the thing, sorry, but plug it. We'll just play it now. This is so around the time Jason Marcel came out. This was like an edit I didn't use for this other video, but I think it still looks cool. All these other people, all these other like older boomer type people came out saying that there was this like element of suppression going on. So let's just watch this real quick, and then we're just about done.
Headline edition, July 8th.
I intermixed it large to this game.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers.
I got a number of phone calls, but the one that really got my attention was purportedly from the Pentagon. There was a young lady on the line saying, Colonel so-and-so, this is the Pentagon calling. And this was within a few minutes of it going out on the wall.
Found sometime last week has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
And the voice on the line says, who is this? I tell him. He said, you put that story on the air about the flying saucers? And I mean, his voice was, the type that really conveys menace and power. And I said, yes, I did. And he says, you're going to get in a lot of trouble for this, or made some threatening.
Russia has demanded UN action to get all foreign military personnel out of Greece. Southern
comment, and I said, look, I'm a civilian. You can't talk to me this way. You can't treat me this way. You can't tell me what to do in stories I put on the air. And he says, I'll show you what I can do. And bang, hung up the phone.
Have not yet reached agreement with John L. Lewis. The rest of the soft coal industry has resumed.
I got a call from Washington from one of the offices of one of the senators saying, look, if you put out any stories on this thing, you're going to lose your license. It's not going to be over a period of time. It's going to be the same day that we tell you that you're off the air.
That's the end of that one. But pretty vibey, right? And now we're gonna get into Tupa's timeline. You want to just take it over right here? Put your thing on there.
Oh, sure, yeah. Okay, so we got a timeline on our hands. This is, we'll zoom in. We got Roswell, and then it just kind of shows. I wanted to show anyway, like the things happening in and around Roswell. Can you guys see this?
Somebody was even asking. I think it was Psychotronica in the chat was asking if when are we gonna do a timeline episode? Boom.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm filling this out.
Like, we're here. I'm saying like it's like synchronicity. Like she asked
perfect
for it,
timing.
we're doing it.
Yeah, perfect timing. So this is kind of cool. We get to see perfect timeline. We get to see like where Roswell falls in the context of other, not only world events, but if we go down, we can see like there's people involved, right? Tesla's death, Crowley's death, Babylon working, all these things kind of happening concurrently with Roswell. So we, have obviously World War II, the Foo Fighters happening within there, the Battle of LA, paperclip, high jump, the atomic bomb, all this right before the Roswell incident going into the Kenneth Arnold incident. We got Mantell, and then over here down in like the 50s when things get kind of crazy, it just kind of picks up from there. And if we zoom out, we can see kind of like a better picture of like when these little pulses of events happened. So you got the 40s here, 50s, 60s, and this is by far not complete at all. So there's more to come in here, but still I got like a lot of the major ones in here. And so you can kind of see the ebb and flow of UFO events. And the reason why I added these people down here is to see how these UFO events coincided, if at all. with personal accomplishments and accreditations or whatever from specific people within the UFO community, specifically put off Valet, Targ, Eric Mitchell, and Jack Sarfati. But yeah, lots of things happening in and around here. Red, did you know that Aleister Crowley died in 1947?
I did not. That's wild.
Right? And Jack Parsons, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory JPL guy, Jack Parsons, did the Babylon working ceremony or ritual, right? Where he was supposed to summon like the holy feminine. He did that in 1946. So something else that's interesting, we talked about John G. Trump in here. Tesla's death took place in 1943, which means that John Trump got those papers between, right out that same year. And it's crazy that within 2 years, we get the atomic bomb, right? We get Project Paperclip, and then within 3, we get Roswell happens. Isn't that bizarre?
Crazy.
It's almost
bro.
like Tesla's death could have sparked like a boom of some kind. Wild. And of course, we have this other information we got in here from one of our earlier episodes where we have like the Manhattan Project turning into the Hanford site, turning into Atomic Energy Commission, all the way into what eventually turned into the Department of Energy, the DOE. And these are in chronological order.
It connects with Roswell because of the, like we said, the 509th, right?
Yep, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. So yeah, this is the shit. I'm actually animating the timeline right now for like a proof of concept for web design. So we're working on getting this timeline online in an app or something.
Tupa-cabra.com.
Yes, tupa-cabra.com, where you can go play Aliens versus Cats if you want to. A game I created myself using Claude AI. I made a fucking game.
That's awesome.
Is it crazy? Did you see the game?
A little bit actually, because I missed it.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this up there. It's
goes over everyone if you want to. If you're here for the Roswell thing, and we're just gonna watch Tupa's game for a bit.
Yeah. We had a good run. Roswell had a good run. now onto this game.
Show. Yeah, today's show.
Dude, the show was great.
Again too. But okay, well, actually, real quick before we end, what were some of the things you learned about Roswell that you were like, holy shit, I didn't know that?
Oh, dude. Honestly, the first page, the Stanton Friedman stuff blew my mind. It blew my mind. I did not know that they were like so heavily involved with it in the 90s, along with Bill Moore. I just didn't know that. And yeah, crazy. What about you? Anything you like? Anything new you learned about popping up? Oh, one more thing I want to say is National Enquirer being the first to report on it. Didn't know about that either.
Yeah, that and the Nazi thing are the things when I first learned them that really stood out to me, that Werner von Braun was allegedly there, and that the National Enquirer dropped the story before all these other dudes.
Are you able to see my game? It's just Snake.
Yes.
Okay, so my goal is to create games that are obviously about the UFO topic, like Missile Command for I got one already halfway done or whatever, Missile Command for Battle of LA. But I do want to make more games that because I can create these little pieces, so like they could literally be like Lou Elizondo or Matt Ford swatting away debunkers. Like I think that shit would be so funny. But yeah, one other reason to go visit my website if you want to play Cats versus Aliens. If you get a high score, send it to me, screenshot it. I'll be putting stuff in there. But yeah, that shit, I love having fun with that stuff, dude. Wild times. But yeah, guys, that's it. This was the Skiff.
Hell yeah, bro, that's
This
sick.
was-
So I'm doing dishes too now. But,
Oh, nice. Yeah, we got lives too. We got to live it up. Dude, that heat wave was fucking crazy, bro. Out of nowhere, triple-digit weather. I wasn't prepared. But we're healing as a nation, as a coast, as a West Coast. We'll get there. But yeah, guys, keep up. If you want to keep up with us, follow us on Twitter. Go to the Spaces. We've been popping into Spaces a lot more often, and that's been awesome. And then yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and then this weekend. We always got more stuff coming for you, more updates coming, maybe more games. We keep it variety. We like to do that shit. Until next time, Red. Any final thoughts?
Fun times, bro. Hell yeah, Roswell. I'm with Lou on this one. I stand with Lou. I'm Lou Crew when it comes to Roswell. 100%.
Yes. Lou Crew, when it comes to Roswell, 100% stay with it. That's what he said. That's what he said, dude. All right. Until next time, folks.